Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now, on with the show.
Hey Flash family, welcome back to The Flashpoint, a podcast dedicated to the hit CW show The Flash, starring Grant Gustin and Jesse L. Martin. I am Lilith, and of course,
I'm Kelly.
Hey, you forgot it.
Hey.
There we go. Now everything's right in the world.
That's right.
We are back after basically a 2-week hiatus of our normal format. Last week, we, of course, did the crossover with the Flash Arrow Power Hour. That was an adventure.
Yes, it was.
But we're happy to be home.
Yes. Wait a minute. Since I said hey backwards, does that mean I'm in the reverse, Kelly?
The opposite, Kelly.
Yeah, there you go.
So up for discussion this week is episode 109, The Man in the Yellow Suit, which is, of course, the mid-season finale. 6 weeks without the Flash. I don't know what I'm going to do. I was a little worried because it was a bumpy episode 7. Into 6, 7, into 8. I wasn't really crazy about the Flash's portion of the crossover. So I'm just like, they better make it up to me. And they did.
Oh, wow. Did they?
I mean, they knocked my socks off from the very opening of the episode.
The feels. Oh, my God.
Kelly is a puddle of emotional wreckage right now.
Yes. Yes. I now own stock in Scott Kleenex, and I just know I better have a box ready.
I mean, just absolutely phenomenal. So let's just jump right into the technical stuff. So this episode was written by Todd Hebling and Aaron Hebling. They wrote another episode that I really liked. I believe that was the Plastique one, right?
I think that's right.
And they had another lady with them, but yeah, I really like these two. I guess they're siblings, the brothers. This one was directed by Ralph Henmaker. I'm not familiar with this man, but I thought he did a fabulous job.
It was fantastic.
Would you like to hit them with the synopsis?
Sure. The metahuman that killed Barry's mother returns, killing 2 guards at Mercury Labs in search of the company's work on tachyon particles. Barry witnesses the Man in Yellow and engages in a high-speed fight around the city. The Man in Yellow insinuates to Barry that they know each other before speeding off. Meanwhile, Eddie speeds in and asks Iris to move in with him, and Ronnie is revealed to have survived the particle accelerator explosion, kind of, but does not remember who he is and has the ability to burst into flames. Barry confesses his love for Iris before the police and Star Labs use the tachyon particle technology as bait to lure the Man in Yellow into the trap. The Man in Yellow escapes and attacks Dr. Wells and the police before engaging in a second fight with Barry. Ronnie appears and blasts the man with flames before both flee the scene. Later, Dr. Wells enters his secret room and unveils the same yellow suit as the man they captured, placing the stolen tachyon technology on the suit's chest.
I did feel like that their B story was kind of shoved in, but we kind of need it because episode 10 is a huge focus on Firestorm, so I understood that. And they gave us awesome moments with Caitlin and Cisco. Just like, oh my God, everybody gave me a teary-eyed moment in this episode. So.
The Kleenex, like I said.
So, the guest stars, of course, Robbie Amell as Ronnie Raymond / Firestorm. He named himself, just like Barry, so they have that in common.
Gotta like that.
Of course, the person I've been waiting for forever, Amanda Pays, reprising her role as Dr. Tina McGee. And then we had Michelle Harrison as Nora Allen, and friend to the show, John Wesley Shipp as Henry Allen.
Yep.
Ugh. I that man just makes me cry every single time.
Yeah. I know.
The jail scenes, man, when you see the name, you're like, oh, we're having a jail scene and a flashback, probably. And the flashback was so beautiful.
It was beautiful. It reminded me back when, I the whole water thing. I was watching it tonight with my daughter, who's 13 now, and I was like, do you remember when you were a little girl and you used to try to pull that stunt?
Just 5 more minutes. Send her to the kid. Oh, I used to pull that.
Mom, I'm thirsty.
But my mom was on top of it just like Henry was. Oh, I got it right here, sister. I got it right here for you. Okay, so the ratings are up a tick, but still in the average range of deviation. We got a 1.5 in the demo. We had 4,660,000 viewers. The viewers were up quite a bit from last week.
Yay!
So there's that. I'm really excited about this, and the crossover definitely helped Arrow, as we'll talk about over on Queen Consolidated.
Yep.
But all in all, pretty darn good night for the Flash.
Yeah. What a way to end a mid-season, just like.
I mean, dude, I did not see the last scene coming at all.
Oh, really?
I didn't see it coming at all because, well, I'll just say this, like Grant, and I don't know if it was just like him trying to toe the company line or not, but he had done an interview where he said when he found out who the Reverse Flash was, it blew his mind, and that it's not any of the fan theories.
Right.
So I don't know if this is just yet again another red herring.
Yeah, well, I think it's him Dr. Wells trying to preserve his timeline. I don't think it's necessarily him.
I don't know what's going on, but I know that they, as people, I don't know, who just come to The Flash, I feel like that are just casual fans, don't read the comic books. They come for a light, fun superhero show, something that Arrow may or may not have given them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this show has powers, and it's shot in the daytime, and it's pretty comedic and happy for the most part,
Yeah.
And so time travel kind of, that's when you have to like really decide if you're going to invest or not, because that gets tricky.
Right.
So they have to, I feel like they have to tread very lightly on this topic.
Oh, well, there's a lot of us that like the timey-wimey stuff.
A lot, but I don't know where the hardcore comic book fans come in the Flash fandom. I don't.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to me too, because, okay, remember, what did Wells say to Tina?
Oh, I know. It's my favorite line. We're not going to talk about that right now.
Okay, but you know what I'm saying about, you knew he was going to steal the device.
Oh, yeah. He was up to things from day one. Like, the second he met her, they're like, you again.
Yeah, exactly.
We should have named them oil and vinegar, because those two do not mix. Wow. Like I said, when we opened the episode with the Flash, well, Barry chasing the man in yellow, the yellow blur for all intent and purposes, it was like, oh man.
Yeah, and that Cisco put it together.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
I was like, I feel like they threw that in for the people who weren't the comic book fans. They're like, oh.
Yeah, well,
so they put that idea, because in the comic books, we find out that Barry went back in time to save himself.
Right.
Well, he was going to try to save his mother and himself, but he ended up only being able to save himself, basically. See, this is what kind of frustrates me a little bit, is because they talked about how this season was based on the Flashpoint comic book and stuff, and it's like, well, if it's actually directly, like, there's no deviation, that's a shame for a lot of the comic book fans, so I just keep expecting these twists.
Right. Well, and they could happen,
I definitely think it's going to happen. I think this is like, okay, we've introduced the speedsters,
right?
And the man in yellow and a Reverse Flash, but there's so many other Flashes and Reverse Flashes in the universe that it could go anywhere. So it's like, okay, this is our foundation now. How are we going to twist it, turn it, and make it our own?
Exactly. Yeah, I love that we got speedsters in the episode.
That was my fangirl squeal. Like, I was like, oh, he said it. After that, we kind of zoom into Joe and Barry decorating the tree.
Oh.
But they didn't finish decorating the tree. Like, I'm like, dude, he could have finished in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, but Iris was there.
With eggnog, that was quote unquote light on the bourbon.
Uh-huh. Very light, I'm sure.
And then Joe gets a call for work. And I guess it's like every Christmas that happens, apparently.
Doctors, cops. Yeah.
Yeah. Crime doesn't stop on Christmas. Sorry, this isn't Sunnydale and it ain't Halloween.
Nope.
So he's like, hey, don't drink all that eggnog.
But Barry does take some to the lab.
I loved it. I loved it. But before we get to the lab, Barry and Iris exchange gifts.
Aww.
We got something out of the Iris Bible this week.
About her mom.
Yeah. So she's dead. They're not divorced. She's definitely dead.
Mm-hmm.
And has been since Barry's known her, basically.
Because she lost it on the 5th grade field trip, so she had to have been dead before that.
Yeah. Well, okay, Barry's mom died when he was 11, so that's 6th grade. So that's at least a year before that.
Yeah, at least.
That they've been friends and that her mom's been dead. So yeah, we're getting the pieces to that. I don't know if that's going to be like a really huge reveal or it's just something they just casually throw out when they feel like it.
Oh, I think it's going to be something to it. I think it's going to end up being something happen and yeah. You know what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, yeah,
we share a brain sometimes.
That's right. See, folks?
Thanks, Kelly. Now I'm going to spend my whole freaking winter break from this show writing fanfic about that. Thanks.
You're welcome.
So yeah, Barry heads over. Oh, well, he gives her the replica of her mom's rings and she gets him a microscope. And I'm like, okay, Iris, maybe a cardigan. I don't know. Or maybe she was getting Eddie the cardigan. I don't know.
That's like getting a wife a vacuum cleaner.
That's what I said. Iris is that significant other. She's just oblivious.
You don't get somebody something for work for Christmas. You get them something that they wouldn't necessarily spend on themselves.
Some kids only get socks and like underwear for Christmas, poor dears. So, it kind of depends on how your parents raised you and on your gift giving policy. So
that's very true.
But she was like, it's the top of the line at least. At least she did her research for that.
It's practical, and she knows that he's really serious about his work. And he's really serious about his work because...
But it was just like, oh, this big, huge, grand gesture and microscope. Might as well have been oven mitts. I like the dichotomy of that scene, and it wasn't even for comedic effect. I just think that's just Iris is a practical girl.
Yeah, it was Iris's idea of Argyle socks.
I love Argyle socks. Anyway, so Barry heads over to Star Labs and exchanges gifts with them and shares the eggnog. But Dr. Wells is in a gloomy mood.
He doesn't want to drink and drive.
I love that line. Dr. Wells is so sassy. Then we cut to Eddie and Iris at CC Jitters, and he basically says, hey, here's the key to my apartment. You're going to move in. And by the way, Barry is way into you. I can't believe you don't see it.
Yeah.
Everybody sees it but Iris. And now Iris sees it by the end of this episode. And it's heartbreaking, but at the same time, I'm glad that they're still friends, that it's like she doesn't want that to change. Because that could be weird.
Oh, yeah. Totally weird. Yeah, well, I think she's going to have to take some time to process this. I mean, my goodness. She's known him forever. And that...
But that is so awkward. Like, I felt for Barry, but he was encouraged by his dad to do that.
Yeah, well, when you have that happen, when somebody that, you've known for years and years and that you grew up with tells you that, it's like life altering. It takes you a while to digest that. Trust me.
But thank goodness we have a 6-week break and we don't have to watch it.
Yeah, because that would be painful to watch. It really would be. Because it's going to be hard on her, and she's going to have to decide. She's going to have to make a choice pretty quick.
Yeah. So we cut to Caitlin, who ducked out to buy Dr. Wells a Christmas present, sweet, precious girl that she is. And apparently Dr. Wells hates Stephen Hawking. But yeah, and so she sees Ronnie. And it's like, how did he find her? Do we have another Ray on our hands? Is he stalking her, pinging her cell phone? Like, what is going on?
Well, or does he remember? Because where was she? She was pulling into Star Labs, wasn't she?
Was that the Star Labs underground thingy? It was too many cars for that. She was coming out of the store with the book, I thought.
It was hard to tell whether she was, getting out of her car getting to her car from shopping, or, you know what I'm saying? It was just kind of hard to tell, but yeah, but I mean, even if he's downtown, well, we know he's a homeless guy, and last time we saw him, he was under a bridge-like area in the downtown area. So even either place, really, it would make sense because parking garages are usually heated. But you know what I'm saying? It's out of the wind. It's out of, and it's out of sight. Not all of them have cameras. And so, he may have just been walking through there for some shelter or something or whatever. But he knew it was her subconsciously. You know, I kind of get the idea that he doesn't really, you know, he's not, obviously not himself. And if there's multiple people inside him, that would make sense. You know, that he wouldn't be completely aware.
I think it was just one of those, he's drawn to her, they're meant to be kind of situations is what they were kind of poking at. And I like that because God knows I just want Caitlyn to be happy.
Yeah, she deserves to be happy.
You know, the fact that Ronnie's not dead, that, like, and we'll get to that scene in a little bit, but it's just so much, like, she sees him in her face. It just broke my heart.
Oh, I know.
And we see why she has that face. You know, it's like, you'd expect something like a little bit of flicker of joy, but it was just all, like, shock, awe, and oh no.
Yeah.
You know, oh, how did he survive? How could he possibly survive and be intact? There's something up with that, you know?
Exactly. Because she's horrified because she knows what happens. You know, they're either he is going to help Barry or he's going to end up in their jail. And how heartbreaking is that? Not only to, you know, to lose your fiance and go through that, but then to find out he's alive and he's got powers and then to have to lock him up.
Yeah, like, because she doesn't know if he's a psycho or not yet.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they've only ever really run into one that wasn't, and that's Barry. I mean, Plastique to an extent, but she was hell-bent on revenge, you know?
Right.
Not really a psycho, but she definitely had some revenge on her mind, so it's just like, they don't, you know, all she knows is Barry, so that's a really bad batting average.
Exactly. And it just, the shock of it had to be just, you know, for her.
Danielle Panabaker she nailed this material that they gave her, and I'm glad that they gave her something so meaty and that it's not like we're just not going to sweep this under the rug. This is going to come back time and time again for a while.
Yeah,
because I'm really curious about Caitlyn and the happy flashback that we got before the particle accelerator blew up and stuff. That looked fun, and, you know, we need some emotional fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
The Flash. Yes. For as happy and light as this show is, if you really like dig beneath the surface, everybody's kind of sort of miserable because of something.
Oh yeah. I mean, how many times do we see people smile besides Cisco?
And I think he just does that to keep, you know, to be that smile in the crowd for everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. He tries to make everybody, you know, lighthearted as much as he can.
Yeah. So then Mercury Labs gets robbed. And I giggled. I was like, Mercury Labs.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you guys.
Yes, me too.
I was really curious. I'm like, okay, if Tina McGee is reprising her role, I mean, and Amanda Pace is reprising the role as Tina McGee, she and her husband founded Star Labs. So, I don't know. So this is definitely a different timeline.
Yeah. Well, and they're...
Ooh, what if they played with that, though?
Yeah, they could have.
And then, like, they show, like, a flashback to the old 1990s Flash. Then Joe tells Barry about the man in the yellow suit. And I can see both sides of their points, but I feel like Joe should have told Barry.
Yeah.
Because he would have been prepared. And it wouldn't have been such a gobsmack in the face.
Agreed. I do agree with you in that case, but I think Joe was just terrified.
Yeah. Like I said, I get it from both points, but when Barry says, you know, I lost because I've been afraid of this man, it would have given him a little more prep time to steady and steel himself.
Yeah, or it would have given him time to worry more, too. I mean, it just depends on where Barry's head was at.
And I think with Oliver's pep talk about not rushing into situations, I think that, you know what I mean? That if he had known earlier, he could plan a little better.
You mean Oliver not rushing into...
Oh my God. Like, we'll get to that
anyway.
Consolidated. I'm just saying. The Oliver/Arrow that shows up on the Flash is complete. It's a different timeline than what's happening in Starling City as far as I'm concerned. Because it don't add up.
It doesn't. It totally doesn't.
So yeah, then Joe and Barry go back to brief the rest of Team Flash. And you know, Caitlyn goes to see Iris on info on the Burning Man. Thank goodness Fat Short named himself.
Yes. Yeah, that could be bad. Well, I mean, what else would you call him? I mean, you know, she's not naming him. She's just coming up with an idea of a name for her story, and that's literally what he is, so...
I was surprised to see this character interaction. Because, you know, Caitlyn, you know, she doesn't seem that fond of Iris because she's being a baby bear, a mama bear for Barry and his secret. And so he knows that eventually, Caitlyn knows eventually that if Iris and Barry get too close, he will spill the beans, and it's just like one more liability.
Right.
But I feel like Caitlyn basically wants Iris to know now, because she goes, if you think something's up with him, maybe you should talk to him.
Yeah. I think quite frankly, I think Caitlin wants Barry to be happy because she knows what it's like. You know, she's been without Ronnie for, since the accident. She knows what it's like not to have the person that she lives in her life, and how tortured Barry is because, he's having to watch Iris with Eddie.
And not being truthful with Iris. I mean, they're best friends. They seem like up until this point, they told each other everything except for his unrequited love. And that's understandable. Because you don't want to come off as a creeper,
Yeah. No. Well, or I think he was just worried that he'd screw it up. If the timing isn't right, you can totally screw it up.
So, I don't know. Like, I enjoyed that scene. And it's just like I said, it's just an unexpected character interaction because we just don't really see the ladies of the show together. So the police then bring in Tina McGee, and I was just like, oh yeah, that was another fangirl squeeze because, like I said, we spent the whole summer live tweeting that show, and you just see Tina sees Dr. Wells, and she's just like, you son of a. Need a flashback of what went down between the two of them. That's what I want.
Oh yeah, I bet you that one we'll get.
I feel like it's a Moira and Malcolm thing.
Yeah,
like heads of two powerful companies. And maybe they had an affair back in the day.
It could be. That really could be. It would be.
Or maybe she's from the future, too.
That could be, too. It would be interesting. Wonder if Amanda or if Tina had anything to do with his wife's death.
Ooh.
No, that could be a good reason to have a little hate.
We're just trying to get Amanda Pays on the show permanently.
Yeah.
That's like a season-long story arc there, Kelly.
Yeah, it would be. And you know how interesting that would be because, we need a foil for Dr. Wells.
A scorned lover? Oh, I love it. That's a little too soapy for
Well, not necessarily a scorned lover, but what happens if she had like I said, what happens if she had something to do with his wife's death? Not necessarily that she was a lover, but what about an experiment gone wrong?
What if she created the original freaking man in the yellow suit 14 years ago?
Yeah, exactly. Or what happens if, they could go so many ways.
Like, seriously, I've been waiting for this character to come back and now I'm like, okay, now all we need is a scene with her and Henry Allen. And then when the trickster comes back, have her there too.
Uh-huh. That's the dream scene right there.
That's the dream scene. It really is.
And for Mark Hamill to bring the ears back with him when he comes.
I tweeted. I said, I wonder if he still has them.
Yeah, I bet you does.
Where's the ears at Hamill himself?
Yes.
Then we cut from the police and when Tina McGee and Dr. Wells, and then we go to Caitlin telling Cisco that she thinks Ronnie is alive.
Yes.
And that scene. It starts off funny because Cisco's just kind of talking about regular protocol stuff, and then he goes, opposite Flash? And I'm like, no, try again, baby. It's okay.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. Back to the drawing board. And then she's like, he's like, what's wrong, Caitlin? And so she tells him, and he's just like, he kind of bats her away, and then she's like, no, I need you to help me find him.
Yeah, he like at first doesn't believe it. He's like, no, he died,
Yeah.
Which, obviously, you'd think that. Who would think that anybody could withstand that? They'd be vaporized.
Now, he was at literally ground zero, basically. So,
yeah,
anything's possible now.
True, but with the explosion and stuff, with him being in there, you would just think that he would not be. That your body would not be able to survive that.
Yeah, and that's why it's based on a comic book.
Exactly.
Then we get cut to Barry, who's staring at the murder board. Can I get a few more angles? I'm trying to put the murder board together piece by piece myself, since they won't put it up on their Tumblr or their Facebook.
They totally need to. We need to see those articles so we can help poor Barry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then we get a flashback that we kind of talked about at the opening of this podcast. And, I really love what his mom said to him.
Yeah.
You're never alone.
Yeah, it's not because it's dark. It's because you're alone in the dark, but you're never really alone. The feels.
And then of course, Papa Henry Allen comes in with his glass of water, and he's like, "Nice try, Slugger." Such a cute scene. And then it's just like, oh no,
it's gonna go bad.
This is the night that she died. Why you ruin a perfectly good moment with the sadness?
Well, because you see the water going up in the air.
I know.
You knew it was coming. It was just,
I was like, oh, son of a gun.
You know, maybe we should, like, string all of those video moments together so we can get the whole thing all in one scene.
Yeah.
Because we're missing something.
Well, they haven't shown us the thing that we need to see, which, of course, now that Cisco's put it out there, is that I think they're definitely going to have it, but it's going to be like a flash forward instead of a flashback, if you know what I mean.
Yes, yeah.
When they finally get to the time travel, I think Barry's going to be able to go back in that moment and see that it was himself. And then maybe as the season progresses, we see more and more of that fight as we learn more and more about the Man in Yellow.
Yeah, that would make sense, actually.
Yeah, I definitely don't think we've seen that whole scene all the way through. It's going to be interesting when we do. That might be the season. That might be our end of the season, like the last moment of the season. We see the whole scene play through, and they're like, psych, we'll see you next season.
Oh, man, that would hurt. But I have a feeling that there's clues in there in what we've been seeing.
Oh, definitely. Candace Patton hints at it every time it happens.
Yeah, well, the water going up, obviously, but, I mean...
Sounds, the colors.
Yes, yeah, I would love to... I don't know if I'll have time to do it, but I really want to, like, single that out and see if I can see.
So, yeah, then we see Iris walk in on Barry looking at the murder board, and this is news to her.
Yeah, she realizes how deep Barry's into it, because she keeps calling him, Barry, 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 and I think she is really shocked that she doesn't realize what he's looking at first.
Then she gets closer and she sees the article about his dad and she puts it all together.
Yeah. Well, and you would think she would have thought about that before.
Well, she knows that he tracks down the unusual stuff, but I think, like, her and her father is how it, like, that was basically, like, they thought that he dropped that whole pursuit and just started chasing the crazy. Kind of like Memento, the point of Memento, it's like, you'll never really catch the guy because you keep changing it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's what I kind of felt like. So they just kind of conceded him to doing the weird stuff and thought that he just kind of let the other stuff go.
Well, or did she think that, he became a CSI because of her dad and his influence over him and not because of what happened to his dad?
I think honestly it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, you're probably right. But,
well, Iris really doesn't. I don't think this is the thing about Iris from what we know in these 9 episodes. She's not. It's not that she's dense or anything. She just kind of. She goes along to get along, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, she doesn't realize how deep. She doesn't realize how deep things are for Barry.
Exactly. Most people, actually.
Well, yeah. I mean, how deeply he cares about things and how deeply he feels things. Well, I don't think she's had that kind of a relationship yet.
I think she's closed herself off because she had an inkling about Barry, but she just, like she doesn't want to lose that friendship because it can get...
Yeah.
So she just kind of shuts down on that front a little bit.
Yeah, because Barry's...
I wouldn't say that she's shallow, or self-centered or anything like that. She just it's kind of like a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
To keep that wall up just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Barry's the guy you obviously want to take home to Dad. It's like the perfect guy.
He's in game. When you're done having your fun, you're like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah.
That was a really cool scene. But then after she leaves, he spots the man in the yellow suit.
Uh-huh. Out the window.
And a chase ensues. And the chase around the stadium, that was amazing.
Did you think he just spotted the man in the yellow suit, or do you think the man in the yellow suit was baiting him? Because that's what I thought.
Definitely baiting him, because, he's standing outside the window across the way from his office.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, just look. You know how you're like, turn around. That's what the man in yellow was doing. Okay, like, that was just so weird, though. It was just like, all of a sudden, it was like a horror movie. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whole thing, I thought it was kind of funny, them racing around the stadium. It kind of looked like those digital message boards that they have in some of the stadiums.
Yeah!
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
It was crazy. And he was getting his butt kicked. But, like, you just know that the man in the yellow suit, I'm not calling him the Reverse Flash just yet. Like I said, I really feel like this is a red herring, so I'm just saying the man in the yellow suit.
Okay. Yeah.
So, he really was getting his butt kicked. And he was just toying with them, basically.
It was a gray and yellow suit.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That noise, which turns out to be the tachyon field generator or whatever. I found that very interesting because I, for the life of me, don't ever remember hearing that sound before from the flashbacks that we got. I mean, they made it. They went out of their way to isolate that sound. So after that, Barry heads back to Star Labs, and he runs it down about the man in yellow, and Barry goes, he acted like he knew me, like we had done this before. And Joe's just like, dude, I think he was just messing with you, trying to get in your head. And I'm like, no, dude, he knows you for sure, bro. Good instincts, Barry. Good instincts.
Deja vu.
And then. And then, they try to kind of talk Barry out of it. They're like, okay, we're going to lure him, but we just have to get this prototype. So Joe goes, and thank God Barry came. Otherwise, that would have been a disaster.
Blackmailing Barry. That was just really bizarre.
A little bit of Oliver rubbed off on him. I'm just saying.
Yeah, wow.
I like that. And then Joe's like, good job, good job.
Yeah, well, but Tina thinks the worst of him now.
Oh my God, the line. I see why Dr. Wells holds you in such high esteem, Mr. Allen. You are very much alike. They were playing with us with this dialogue so hard, Kelly.
Oh
my God, so many lines. You're just like, really? Really? You're just going to leave these red herrings just swimming in the ocean, huh? Just going to leave these out here for me. Okay. I had to get my torch and my pitchfork. Eddie horns in on the investigation because the Flash was there, and I need to use my big, shiny new task force. Ugh. Just ugh.
What was it that Iris first called him?
Detective Pretty Boy?
Yes, there you go. I think when he's like that, that's what we should use for his name, because, yeah, you just okay, he's going to count how many bullets he's going to use to put these guys,
And so Joe's just like, oh, now I got to worry about this guy. Fine, come on. Hope you don't get shot. And then Caitlin and Cisco track down Ronnie with what looked like an EMF meter. Just saying.
Well, wouldn't he be putting off radiation? I mean, wouldn't that be more like a Geiger counter kind of thing?
I don't know how sci-fi, how real science we're getting with this. I don't know, so I couldn't tell you. All I'm saying is it looks like EMF reader that I got off of Amazon when I was 15. That's all I'm saying. And so they do see him, and Caitlin's like, hey, don't mention the freak ixnay on the fire ray.
Yeah.
So we see him, and he it's this really tense moment, and he grabs her face, and I'm like, is he gonna set Caitlin on fire? And then we find out that she has Killer Frost powers. I didn't know what to think when he grabbed her face like that. Wouldn't that have been an awesome reveal, though?
Oh man.
So they find him, and he's like, don't look for me again. And I'm like, well, they weren't looking for you last time. You showed up.
How can they not find you with that hair?
Let the Emil boys be pretty. Please stop with the struggle wigs. I cannot stress that enough. And then, so the team Flash finishes the trap to lure the man in the yellow suit. And, they basically send Barry off. And then we hear the talk about Caitlin and Cisco about Ronnie and how she thought she would have done anything to have just one more moment with him, and how she'd rather him just be out there than be stuck in the metahuman prison, Supermax.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine? Because now he's not really him. I mean, she would have given up all this stuff to spend one more moment with him, but now he's not really him. And how awful that has to be and has to feel.
Yeah. And then Barry, of course, we get the scene with his dad in the prison. Because when Barry went to go see his dad, it's like I got the feeling that Henry knew more than he was letting on. And that's why he kind of gave that pep talk to Barry to tell Iris how he felt.
Yeah.
Was it just me?
No. I mean, it could be that he knows more than he knows. Or it could be that he knows how Barry feels, and he realizes something's going on with Iris, because Barry wouldn't be as distraught as he is, because he was pretty distraught.
I just feel like he knows more, because he said, I found the guy, Dad. And that's, if you look at John Wesley Shipp's face, he's just like, oh crap.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and what was my theory?
Which one?
My crackpot theory
so many, Kelly.
Was
oh yeah, his mom.
That either he or Nora had to know something, had to be investigating something. What did they know that got her killed?
Dude, we got so many pages out of different characters' Bibles. Okay, so Nora, who's dead, presumably, in this timeline at least, she traveled the world. She liked to visit places, and she wanted to go back and never got a chance. And I'm just like, wow, I like this a lot.
Well, I mean, and how wonderful was it that Joe wanted to send Barry too, because he knew I think he knew that his mom liked to travel.
This was just really good. We were just like, it was just casual throwaway lines that if you're just a casual fan, you're like, okay, yeah, whatever. But like, then like as hardcore fans, we're like, oh, they're just giving it all to us.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. It makes me feel more confident that they definitely do have a plan, that they're not flying by the seat of their pants.
Well, and that they care about the fans.
And they care about their characters. And I think if you care about your characters and like, it's just not, because, it's easy. Okay, this show is based on a comic book. We can just pull out the comic books and just make them stock, archetype, one-dimensional characters. I'm not going to say what show. I won't compare it to any other show. I'm just saying I'm glad that they don't do that.
They make you fall in love with these characters.
Every week, more and more. I think that that's just really great. And he still calls him Slugger every time my little heart just cracks a little more. They really do pay attention to detail and have recurring themes and quote unquote gags, for lack of a better term. And I just appreciate it. I appreciate the consistency. Barry just takes so much to heart and everything's always his fault. And it's just like, no, baby, just here. Shh.
Okay, I'm going to draw a parallel to another show because, okay, we got two heroes that take everything as their fault, but it is so different.
Well, it is always Oliver's fault.
Well, sometimes.
No, literally, his mistakes in the past literally always catch up to him.
Yeah.
That is the problem with Arrow. But I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, Barry, well, his dad being in prison almost could be his partially fault, depending on the rest of the scene. So, he feels just completely irresponsible for his dad being in there, especially now because he lost the guy.
Henry just wants what's best for him. He wants to move on. He wants him to move on.
He wants him to live.
And love.
Yeah, because he hasn't lived. He's been in limbo.
Yeah.
Just like
his whole life. His whole adult life. In before that.
Yeah. Since he was 10, 11 years old.
Just that was a really powerful scene, and it motivates Barry to go tell Iris how he feels.
Oh yeah.
When that tear rolled down Candace's eyes, I promise you, mine was a matching pair.
Yeah.
She didn't even say much in that scene. It was just her reaction. She nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah. The shock, the awe, the realization,
I love how it started. He just goes, "I love you," and she's like, "Oh, I love you too." And he's like, "No, we're gonna have to sit down. I really love you."
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's how it would happen, very organic feeling. And bravo. Wow.
I had to look away for a minute though, seriously. I was just like, this scene is so painful and so beautiful, and it was just a well-crafted scene. And I like that they didn't really have her say much, because she should have been stunned and shocked. Yeah. And so the man in the yellow suit falls for the most basic of basic traps. I was just like, really? Why don't we just get a box with a stick and a string?
Yeah, it was a roach hotel.
I thought, literally, Kelly, I was just like, really? He fell for that? Like, I don't even understand how he fell for it, honestly.
Well, because maybe he knew.
And so they go out there. It's like Joe and Dr. Wells and Eddie. They're all like,
why did he use Eddie's name?
I don't know. Oh, I do know. Actually, it was to fuel another red herring that it was a grandfather clause about why the quote unquote reverse Flash didn't hurt Eddie once he figured out who he was. That was a red herring for me personally.
That's kind of what I figured, but
the writers definitely know what they're doing when they write these red herrings and stuff, and I applaud them for it. Oh, like the man in the yellow suit says something smart to Dr. Wells, and he's like, I don't know. I'm a pretty smart guy. And now the interesting thing to me is that when it starts to overheat or whatever the heck happens, and he snatches Dr. Wells and pulls him back in and is beating the crap out of him, Joe's the one that basically saves Dr. Wells. Yeah, so Caitlin texts Barry, he swoops in, and he still gets his butt handed to him, and then Firestorm comes in for the win.
Yes.
And then flies off. I was not expecting for them to show that.
I was very happy that they showed that.
So then, after that, Joe goes and finds, Eddie, and they have the talk, as in the metahuman talk. Then Caitlin and Cisco tend to Dr. Wells' poor little beat up body.
You know what? We missed one little thing that really caught my attention.
What's that?
I loved how Joe sidestepped. Do you know who the Flash is, don't you?
Oh, yes.
That was awesome.
If Barry walks by, son, like, I was just like, if Eddie was a little more perceptive.
Yeah. It was like, oh, shoo, bullet dodge.
Oh, that was a good one. And I hope that, I don't know that that's going to necessarily change Eddie's mind, but it should give him food for thought.
Yeah.
And maybe he's going to have a discussion with Iris when we come back, or we get a flashback to the conversation, because I think that should definitely, there was two of them, and everybody in that room basically heard the man in yellow admit that he murdered Nora Allen. So in front of a bunch of cops and other witnesses, I mean.
And he had a weird voice, weirder than Barry's weird voice.
Oh, yeah. So it's just like, I don't know, maybe this is the little seed that we are getting ready to free Henry Allen.
That would be nice.
I don't know. I feel like the reason that's like one of the main reasons, like, because Joe, it's all like suspect timing, because Joe questions Dr. Wells about it. And, it's something that really bothers Barry, and it might hinder him from becoming the hero he's meant to be.
Yeah.
And so this is the time Dr. Wells pulls out all the stops.
But what are they going to do? Because, okay, if Joe and Eddie are the only two people besides, people at the lab that understand that there are metas, it's not like they can say, oh, yeah, well, Henry Allen didn't do it. It was metahuman.
Well, I wouldn't even say metahuman. We got a guy, and he got away.
Yeah.
Because Eddie is fresh from he's far removed from that case.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't care how they do it. They just need to do it. Free Papa Allen. So then, after that, Joe goes to check on Barry, and we'll get to the line because it's one of my favorite lines of the night.
I knew it would be.
I mean, we hadn't had a good Joe and Barry scene in quite a while, and this was just like 5 of them rolled into one.
Yeah.
Punch me right in my face.
Oh yeah, that was your line though. I knew that was gonna be your line in.
The whole little mini soliloquy was just beautiful.
Yes.
And it's like, it answered some of the questions. Like, yeah, he was a single dad with a struggling budget and was worried about taking this kid who had just suffered through so much trauma in.
Yeah.
Like, for him to just admit that's like, wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about that back in the pilot.
Yeah. And, like, they're actually addressing it. I just find that fascinating because it's easy to gloss over.
That's right. Thank you for listening to the show, guys.
You know what the funny thing is, though, is that it always was probably planned to be addressed. And I mean, they're very thorough on this show.
They are, and we appreciate them for it. It makes a big difference.
It really does. I don't know. I feel like this show is just made with sugar, spice, kisses, and hugs. I do. We're making powder puff girls, yes. And then what else? Okay, then everybody gathers at the Wes's, and we see like these little snippets of moments. But the most important moment is Cisco talking to Joe.
Yeah.
And he says, hey, I just remember what Barry said about the night his mom was killed. The red and yellow electricity. Yeah, I think there was another speedster there, buddy.
Good going, Cisco.
Absolutely. And then, of course.
Oh, the look that Eddie gives Barry kind of creeps me out.
Eddie's jealous. I would be too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that ring was a super personal, over the top gift.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I kind of understand where Eddie is coming from, but at the same time, they have been best friends for a while.
Well, yeah, forever.
And I mean, my Christmas present every year to my best friend is I put 2 of her kids through private school.
Wow.
Just saying, they're my godchildren. I love them. So
yeah,
yeah. I don't have kids. All I have are dogs, cats, and a horse. The least I can do, So I don't know. Like, some people would kind of like, if I was a guy doing that, like, I don't know what her husband would do. Quite honestly,
he'd probably be a little weirded out.
So like I said, I could totally give Eddie the benefit of the doubt on that. But I'm ready to have my pitchfork and my torch. This task force thing was a huge misstep for me personally in the character development of Eddie, because it seems so sudden and out of the blue.
Yeah.
Unless he actually does know that Barry is the Flash.
And that could be too.
He's been playing dumb this whole time. He's like, you know what? Iris is falling for the Flash. We got to do something.
Yeah. exactly. I mean, who knows? He could be from a different timeline.
Oh, it's probably everybody's probably from a different damn timeline at this point. So let's cut to the scene in the Lego room of requirements.
Yes.
Oh my God. Dr. Wells pulls out a flash ring and we both lose our stuff. We both tweeted at the same time. The ring!
We've been wondering about that ring.
Dude, I was like, what? And like he takes the ring. We see the little every hero and villain apparently has a little special glass case for their suit.
Of course.
So he puts the ring in the little slot and the suit goes on to the dummy inside the containment field. I was like, that is so cool.
Yes.
Barry needs one of those.
Yes, he does.
I mean, seriously, where is he keeping the suit? Like, we saw the one time where he had it, which was awful, in his office in a little suit bag. Really, Barry? And we've never addressed it since then.
It's not like he has a locker he can hide it in.
Maybe he keeps it in that watch that his dad gave him that he always wears. Maybe Cisco designed a little compartment. Petition to make that happen. It's crazy. And so he puts on the little tachyon generator thing on top of the thing, and he says Merry Christmas in the creepy man in the yellow suit voice. And so that to me denotes that Dr. Wells has some Flash-like ability because he was vibrating his vocal cords the way that Barry does. Was that just me or
no? That's kind of what I got from it too. So
okay, like it's so confusing. Like I don't know what the writers want me to get out of this character of Dr. Wells and his motivations. I don't know if it's purposefully muddy.
I mean, he could be anyone from Barry's grandfather to Barry's son to Barry's grandson to villain to he could be anybody, and that's the problem.
Let's talk about the Easter eggs.
Oh, holy cow.
There's not that many, actually.
I figured there would be tons this week, but
no. The Flash ring, we already kind of talked about that. And in the Flash, of course, in the comics, Barry uses a Flash ring to carry his costume at all times.
And in the cartoons.
We kind of already talked about Amanda Pays as Dr. Tina McGee, but I don't think we ever talked about the McGee from the comics. She's more associated with Wally West. She was a researcher hired by Harvard to study Wally West's metabolism. And then her husband had experiments with the super speed, and he transformed into Speed Freak. And then he ended up in a coma. And then she divorced her husband, I guess while he was in the coma, I think, if I remember right. And then she and Wally become romantic partners, which I always found really funny that they kind of had that will they won't they thing in the Flash TV show from the 90s. Because I was like, it's a Wally West thing, but I'll take it. But she also became the head of Star Labs in the Central City location. And she quite frequently assisted Wally with help. And then she also helped Bart Allen because they wanted to know what happened to the Speed Force after a certain event. So she has the character has a long history in the comic books, and it's just great to see Amanda Pays back.
It was nice to see her back.
So tachyon particles is like a sci-fi staple, but most specifically, I think, is Star Trek: The Next Generation. I believe they talk about it even in the pilot about what powers the warp drive and all that stuff. But also in science fiction, they tend to use it as a way to explain time travel because it's faster than the speed of light traveling and all that stuff. And also in the comics, Our Man, who, fun fact, last season actually got the rounds of being made into development at the CW. It never came to fruition, but he uses tachyon particles to look into the future.
Very cool.
So yeah, I think that it's really, really fun because apparently everybody and their mom thinks Dr. Wells is definitely a time traveler. I mean, all we need to know is that his middle name is like Gary.
Yeah.
And there we go. Oh, fun fact about the guy that played the lab sciences. He's played by David Milchard, and he was a dude that was killed by Malcolm Merlin in the first season finale of Arrow Year's End.
I knew I had seen him. I was like, where have I seen him before?
Really cool, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, Mercury Labs. Now, Mercury Labs, haha, funny, Mercury. Yeah, god of a messenger god and all that stuff. But in the comics, the original Flash, Jay Garrick, based the designs of his winged helmet off of Mercury, the Roman god of messengers. That was another little thing that I was like, hee hee. So yeah, that's pretty much all the Easter eggs. Can you believe that?
That's not a whole lot, but hey, I'll take them.
I like that though because this story was so streamlined. I mean, minus the Caitlin, Cisco, Ronnie thing, but like I said, they needed to build to that for the next episode when we come back.
Right.
So I understood it, but like it was pretty streamlined. 52 references, no comic book. No writers references and stuff. So
no street references.
Exactly. I don't know. Like sometimes I really like a lot of Easter eggs, and then other times it feels gratuitous. I guess it's just how it's done.
Well, it was just nice because this story had so much meat to it. You couldn't throw all that stuff at it.
Definitely not. Oh, the comic book issue number 8 is coming out December 15th.
Woohoo!
So that's Monday, digital first Monday. It'll be 99 cents. So since start off your hiatus right, and we'll pick it up. Let me tell you a little bit about it. So it is issue number 8, and the little brief blurb of it is, with thousands of innocent lives hanging in the balance, the Flash squares off against Mr. Bliss and his band of circus freaks in one final showdown. It's 23 pages long. It was written by Brooke Elkemeyer, Andrew Kressberg, and Catherine Walzak. The pencils were by Phil Hester. The inks were by Eric Gasper, and then colored by Kelsey Shannon. So I really want to encourage you guys to pick it up because it's going to be a long 6 weeks.
Yes, it is. Ugh.
Okay, and then the Flash number 36 just came out as well on November 26th. And the blurb for that is, the Flash is trapped in a bizarre lost land terrorized by castaways from the past, present, and future.
Holy cow, poor Flash.
Central City without a hero.
Oh, no.
This one was written by Van Jensen and Robert Venditti, and the pencils were by Brett Booth and Andre Coelho. So it's 23 pages long. It is $2.99 both in print and digital. I highly encourage you guys to pick this one up. It's pretty cool.
I'm feeling very timey-wimey this week.
It is. But like I said before, I very much expected the Flash to deal in time travel because the story lends itself to time travel. It has a great storied history. Everybody from, Max Mercury right down to Bart Allen. And there's the new storylines that Jeff Johns is responsible for because of the Flashpoint that deals with a lot of time, specific time travel to this particular new Barry Allen of the New 52. So
I love Barry.
I love Barry. I do. He's my favorite Flash next to Jay Garrick. But his time is come and gone, and I've accepted that fate. But with the Flash, you never know. We could get a Jay Garrick.
We could. We totally could.
Time to get to the episode awards. Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
The grade. It's okay, Kelly. We probably gave it the same exact grade, and it's okay.
I don't know how much more I could ask for an episode. Wow, guys.
You want me to go first? I gave it A+.
Yeah, we were headed towards the same direction. I was gonna say definitely an A, at least an A. So yeah, holy cow,
so good, literally mind-blowingly good.
Yeah. When I finished the episode, and I got to watch live this week, and when I finished, I literally just almost collapsed. I mean, I couldn't sleep. In fact, I tweeted that. How am I supposed to sleep after this?
I believe I tweeted something similarly.
Because holy cow. I mean, man, it just ripped your heart out and stomped on it and kicked it a few times. And
it was so vivid, though. Usually this is a really good sign of an episode is that usually, I sit down and take my notes. I literally almost remembered every single scene. Yeah. It was that etched in my brain because it was that good. Every single scene just had something that just hooked you.
Yeah, I've only got to watch it now 3 times.
I've only seen it twice. Can you believe how detailed I am and I've only seen it twice?
Amazing. I mean, it's just amazing. The episode was great.
The scene of the night? So many to choose from, though. And you can give up to 3, Kelly. Since it's it's the mid-season finale, it was so good, you can get up to 3. And we probably have all same 3.
Well, of course, the scene with Barry and Joe, where
they're talking about him taking them in and what he brought to their lives, and
the scene in jail had me in tears. Good. And then, of course, the scene with Iris, where he literally
Put his heart on his sleeve, and she didn't stump on it. She just kind of looked, and she didn't take it. She just looked at it, and she's processing it. Just, wow. See, we do share brains sometimes. But definitely those scenes were like, why would you do this to me? I have 6 weeks to worry about this. Why would you do this? I totally agree, hands down. I mean, literally a 3-way tie for me. I could not order it if you put a gun to my head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, wow. Just wow.
So many lines and moments tonight. Like, I literally can't. I can't even. I have like 5 of them. So I will let you go first. And it's okay if one of them is the same.
Well, one of them is going to be the same. The whole talk about, that Barry brought the light into their home, and that
the whole monologue was beautiful, but the end statement was, the world may need the Flash, but I need my Barry Allen. And I lost it. I was on the verge, and then I just lost it. And then they had the hug. I was just like, why would you do this to me? It's so beautiful.
And of course, the conversation between Barry and Henry, where he tells them, that where Barry is saying, that he feels responsible, because he lost the guy in the red suit or the yellow suit, and that, now it's him keeping his dad in prison, and his dad saying, you gotta let this go. You gotta live your life. You don't think I know that you love Iris, and all this. It's like,
Lines came from Dr. Wells. I love that. I don't know. I'm a pretty smart guy. He was just so smug and self-assured through this whole situation. It was just jarring. It's like he wasn't even trying to hide his smugness anymore. Yeah, it's great. I say this every week though. Kudos to Tom Cavanaugh. Like I said, I was skeptical about this choice, but he wows me every single freaking week. He must be having a ball with this. Do you have any more favorite lines?
Oh goodness. Well, the whole "I don't drink and drive" was cute too.
You wouldn't want to drink and drive. Dr. Wells, I told you, he's a sassy son of a gun. Most memorable moments?
I loved Caitlin and Cisco.
Their hug where Cisco, oh my.
Yeah, and we haven't had a whole lot. I mean, they're close, but we haven't had a whole lot of emotional moments with the two of them, and that was just really cool to see. Well, I mean, they got to be close.
Yeah.
They've worked so close together for, all this time, and they've been through so much together, even before Barry. He was there during Ronnie's death, and then for her to find, wow. Yeah, that was really emotional.
There was so many hugs, like the Joe and Barry hug, and of course the little casual hand touching between the glass of Barry and Henry, and even right down to the look Iris gives Barry at the end of this episode. She looks back at him, and he looks at her, and it was just like, man, silent acting is my favorite. That's really the true hallmark of an actor for me personally, when there's no words to be said, and you can see it all on their face. Who is your character of the night?
Oh, I gotta give it to Grant. I mean, the way he interacted with everybody was just, if he doesn't get an Emmy for this, I'm gonna be really upset. I'll put it that way.
Oh, for me, it's definitely Dr. Wells, hands down.
Yeah.
He was sassy, he was creepy. He just had so many like low-key moments. And it's like, he very well could be the Reverse Flash, but at the same time, he very well might not be. And you just don't know. He keeps me guessing. He keeps me on my toes.
Yeah. He's like a faceted gemstone. Well, it's just every week you see something different from his character. It's all the same stone, but you see it through different facets.
Definitely. I totally agree with that. Most improved? I think just the storytelling overall was tighter. It was more emotional than the last 2.5 episodes have been.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, this whole episode was very, very tight. We got so much meat in one episode.
So much meat that our time got extended for 2 minutes.
Yes.
I didn't even notice.
You didn't?
I didn't even notice until I was actually like watching it on my laptop, and I'm like, wait a minute. What'd you get for best action?
The stadium scene.
Agreed. Best character interaction?
Well, I think we already covered that.
Yeah, honestly, we really did, but just for the record, Barry and everybody else.
Yes, Barry and everybody.
Biggest shock of the night. I mean, I think literally, like, we should just call it the end credit scene discussion at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically.
That's where they try to shock us.
Obviously, it's Dr. Wells having the ring and the suit in the Lego Room of Requirement. I was like, I couldn't believe, like, I was, like I said, I was gobsmacked, like, what?
Yeah.
They just gave this to us?
That was really cool.
Theories and predictions?
Dr. Wells is up to no good.
No done news, Kelly!
I know, it's no duh. Really, besides what I'd mentioned before, they've totally blown my mind. Not quite sure where they're heading besides the whole Firestorm thing. He's going to be back, but I don't know where they're going.
Yeah, you got me, kid. This is what I'm saying. They make all the clues add up to the fact that it's Dr. Wells, but it doesn't necessarily have to be him.
No, because he could just be affected by Barry's future directly. So, yeah, he could be anybody.
I just checked our email, which is, of course, flashpoint.smg@gmail.com. We don't have any new email, but we had a ton of fun live tweeting this week. We got a new follower, West Allen, which is at John_Astrid, is our newest follower, so thank you very much for that. And, of course, shout out to our Flash family, Mikey Flash, Jules. I love you guys. They're fun. I love live tweeting with those guys. And of course, at the Flash Diaries, of course, who co-host the Flash Diaries, which can be found at theflashdiaries.com. They're adorable. And shout out to Charlie. He's getting married this weekend. He's probably already married now that we're recording.
Wow, that's cool.
So that's awesome. And, he's the co-host over, one of the co-hosts over on Channel 52 with me, so.
Very fun.
And speaking of Mikey and Jules, they will be joining us for our mid-season roundtable!
Woohoo!
It's gonna be so much fun. The highlights, and there's not really that many lowlights, actually, of The Flash so far. So it's gonna be a big chunk of highlights and maybe one blurb on a lowlight.
And I've only talked to them on Twitter.
Really? I've only talked to Mikey on Twitter, but Jules was on Channel 52 with me. We broke down Comic-Con. But she's new to podcast, and that was her first time ever, so we should have a lot of...
It will be a blast, because we all get along so well on Twitter. So.
And everybody has their own specific niche, and Jules is definitely the sassy one. You guys are going to love him so much, I promise you.
We will have a blast, and you'll get to hear lots of opinion, which is a great thing.
This should be ready for you guys by, like, the day after Christmas. So, a little belated Christmas present from us at the Flashpoint.
Yeah, because we hope on Christmas you'd be, enjoying time with your family.
Or eating yourself into oblivion and sleeping. No judgment. Shameless plugs. Look, I remembered this week, Kelly.
Yay! Well, you can find me on Twitter at SuperSquint. That's SuperSquint. I'm also Super Squint on Tumblr and Instagram, and we can keep going and going and going.
It's her brand.
Yeah, well, hey, there you go.
Speaking of your brand, I really want to encourage you guys to go over to Voice of TV and check out her Bones review for the 200th episode. It was so good.
Oh, thank you.
As for me, guys, I'm Lil Hellfire on Twitter. I'm Super Who Live Junkie on Tumblr. Our Tumblr is theflashpodcast.tumblr.com. You can find us on Twitter at flashpoint_smg. And again, our email is flashpoint.smg@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you guys.
Give us some roundtable ideas.
Definitely. And I want to say that the first 7 people to send in their thoughts on the episode this week via email, I will give you guys a digital copy of The Flash of Two Worlds, issue number 123.
Woohoo!
If I have to bribe you guys for comments, I'll do it. It's not beneath me. And I really think that that's one of the best stories ever for The Flash. And everybody should, if you're even just the mildest Flash fan, everybody should have a chance to own it.
That's awesome.
So, there you go, guys. So, yeah, that about does it for us here at the Flashpoint Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed our discussion of episode 109, the Flash mid-season finale. Flash will be gone for 6 weeks, and it will be January 20th, 2015 before you know it. And then
we'll be back in a flash.